Hey everyone, so it's Hearth and welcome back to my channel. So on today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you a friendship souring spell that doesn't require any kind of candles or smoke. So souring spells are a really interesting type of magical practice. They're essentially designed to sour a situation, to make it negative. Now, souring workings can be done with relationships, like romantic relationships. They can also be done with friendships, financial relationships, etc., etc. And there's lots of different ways that you can do them. The most common and most well-known way is a souring jar or a sour jar. This way is slightly different in that it's a very easy and effective method of doing a souring working without having to have things sitting around for long extended periods of time and without you having to burn candles. So this is a smoke and candle free spell. So if you are in the broom closet and you aren't able to burn things, or you live in accommodation or have pets and aren't able to burn things or use smoke, this is a really, really good option for you. Now this working in particular is a twofold working. So initially it acts to sour a friendship or a relationship. You can really adapt it to suit what you need it to. And then it separates those people within that friendship. So you start by souring it, making it a really nasty, horrible relationship that these people are going to want to get out of, and then you separate them apart so they're no longer friends, no longer in as much contact as they were before. Now this working can be adapted to suit what you need, so you can do this on a friendship, which is primarily what it's used for, or you can use it for a couple, where each person's name is going to be an individual person in that relationship that you then sour and then separate. So you really can adapt this. Feel free to work with it however you see fit, tweak it, adjust it, add things, take things out, whatever you feel is necessary. But I've tried to keep this as simple as I can so that a lot of you guys will be able to do this for yourself as and when you need to. So enough of me talking, let's get on to this working. So these are the items that we're going to be using in today's working. Most of them are items that you're going to be able to find relatively easily either around your house or at the supermarket. So the main item for this working is the lemon. Now, lemon is a really traditional ingredient in souring spells because it is, well, sour. And so it makes a really, really good ingredient to add into this kind of working. We then have a chopping board and a knife to chop the lemon. We have 2 pieces of paper, a pen, and some sewing pins. And that is the entire contents of this working. It's pretty simple. And because it doesn't contain any candles, it is a relatively easy working for people to do if you do live in rented accommodation and you can't have things burning, or you simply don't feel safe doing that. But of course, please always make sure, because we are using a knife, that you are being safe in this working while you are doing it. I don't want anyone to hurt themselves in attempting to do this. So this working is a 2-step working. So the first step we are going to be doing right here, and the second step I will be showing you towards the end of the video. So first things first, let's move things to one side that we're not going to need. And let's start with the lemon. Now, this lemon is a relatively fresh one. You can use more rancid lemons if you want. If you want to make their relationship really, really horrible really quickly, you can use a rancid, semi-rotten lemon. That's a good option as well. But I'm going to be using a fresh lemon because it's what I have available. So I'm going to cut the lemon in half. Lovely. And this is going to act as the body of your spell. So it's almost the equivalent of using a spell jar or a ritual container of some kind. This lemon is going to act as that vessel. Already I can smell it is super sour. It's not quite fully ripe, so it's exceptionally bitter. So now that that is cut, we are going to move it slightly off to the side. And we are going to start on our name papers. Now there's a few different ways that you can do this. You can use photographs of the people that are in the friendship or the relationship. So you can create 2 really miniature photographs by resizing them, print them out and use them to go into this working, or you can create little name papers. Now I'm going to be doing name papers because this working is not for anyone in particular. So what I'm going to be doing is, I want to be visualizing their friendship, their relationship turning sour and bitter, and there's frustration and there's arguments and there's disagreements, and ultimately they end up not wanting to be around each other anymore. So I want to be visualizing that whilst I am writing these name papers. I also want to be seeing their face as I'm writing them. So if you have photographs, you can add their names onto the photograph before you add them into the working, or you can just use the name papers. So you're going to want to add as much information as you can. So a full name, first name, middle name if you know it, surname, and then date of birth. And you're really going to want to think of them, visualize them, see this person in your mind's eye as you're writing their name. So as always, I am going to be doing this to a John Doe because I am predictable like that. And then their birthday is going to be the 31st of October 1979. So while I'm doing this, I really want to be seeing them in my mind, almost as though they are sitting right in front of me. And then I'm going to take that name paper and I'm going to fold it up so it's quite small. Just going to fold it in on itself, and then that is going to be used in the working. So then the next name paper. Now this is going to be the other person in this friendship, in this relationship. Now you can add more than 2 people into this, but because there's only 2 halves of the lemon, it's ideal for friendships where there's only 2 people. So relationships, like romantic relationships, sexual relationships, friendships where there's 2 people are really good for this kind of working. So now we're going to write the second person in this friendship. Now it's going to be a Jane Doe. So once again, I am going to be visualizing their face as I am writing this out. And then once again, I'm going to fold it in on itself as many times as you want. That could be 2 times, that could be 3 times. It depends on the paper that you're using. And then those are the 2 pieces of paper that I'm going to put into this working. So this is a super simplistic working. You're really focusing all of your energy and intention on the sourness and the bitterness of lemon. Now lemon is really, really powerful in spell work. It's exceptionally potent and is used a lot when it comes to souring jars. We're just going to be adapting it slightly. So the next thing we are going to do, so we're going to have our 2 name papers. Now these could be the photographs. If you have any tag locks of those people, so whether that's a miniature photograph, whether that is a lock of hair or a toenail clipping or whatever else it might be, if you want to add it in, now is the time to do it. So each half of this lemon is going to be designated to a person. So this side, we're going to be putting one person's name, and on the other side, we're going to be putting the other. Now, as you are securing this together, you are going to want to visualize what it is that you want to manifest. You want to visualize all of these lemon juices soaking into these people's names, soaking into that relationship, making it super bitter and sour and toxic and negative. You want to make every conversation turn into an argument. You want to make every situation be negative. But negative to the point where they have to do something about it, to the point where they're disagreeing, to the point where they're arguing, and ultimately to the point where they are going to want to leave each other alone. So each half of this lemon is designated to a person. We're then going to close this lemon up so that they are essentially inside the lemon. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to pin the lemon together. The point of this is that you want to make it so that these 2 are stuck in this sour relationship for now. It's not going to be forever, but it is a temporary measure to make sure that their relationship gets super toxic. So it's one of those, it needs to get worse before it gets better. So I'm going to go around, and as I'm pinning it, I'm going to be visualizing them stuck in this toxic relationship together. They're just going to have to stew in it. Now, some people might turn this into almost a curse. They will keep this together like this. So this relationship is going to get more and more toxic. It's going to get worse and worse and worse. And they are not able to leave. Whereas some people might use this more as a way of forcing them apart, forcing it to be as bad as it can possibly get before they're finally able to leave. So I'm just going to pin all the way around this. Now you can chant as you're putting these pins in. You can be saying words of intention over it. You can be entering into a trance-like state, whatever you feel is necessary. Now, if I was to chant over something like this, I would probably do it 9 times. That's the typical thing that I do for workings like this, is that I would chant over this lemon 9 times what I want to manifest. So it would be along the lines of, let this lemon sour the relationship of Jane Doe and John Doe. May it make them argue and disagree again and again and again until neither of them can stand the sight of one another. And then I will just repeat that again and again and again. Or you can just use words. So you can just use a few. So sour this relationship, sour this relationship, sour this relationship, sour this relationship. And you can get louder and louder as you're doing it. You can just repeatedly chant again and again and again. And then that lemon is finished. So you're really going to want to be putting your energy into this. You're going to want to be charging it with your intention. You can do that whilst you're doing it. As every pin goes in, you're putting your intention into this working. You can sit with it afterwards and you can hold it and you can really visualize your intention manifesting in their lives. And then you are going to want to have this sit for as long as you want them to stew. Now, of course, this lemon is going to go rancid, so there's a few different options of doing this. You can do this working and you can leave it out on a dish and you can just let it sit and rot and stew away, and you can just let their relationship get worse and worse and worse and more toxic. Or if you want to kind of prolong the agony a little bit, you can stick it in a freezer and turn it almost into a long-term in and out. It constantly gets frozen and refrozen and the relationship gets better and then worse and then better and then worse. And every time it gets worse, it gets worse. And you're going to want to do that for as long as you want this relationship to sit and sour and stew and become toxic and negative. That can be till the lemon rots nearly and it's basically just falling apart. It can be for a few days, it can be for a week, it can be for longer. You can keep it in the fridge to really prolong that negativity and that sourness. You're essentially going to want to do it until you feel they've hit breaking point and they have to cut that friendship off. They have to completely separate from each other's lives. Or you can just leave it to sit like this forever. You can just leave it to stew. You can bury it like this. You can store it. You can add it into a jar, whatever you feel is necessary. So that is the souring aspect of the relationship working. So this is to really sour that friendship, to make people argue, to make people disagree, to make people be on each other's nerves 24/7 every waking minute of the day. So you've done that. You know, they hate each other, they can't stand the sight of each other, but they're still friends and they're still talking to each other for whatever reason that might be. They're still determined that it will work, or they can't get away from each other quite yet. What you then might want to do is turn this into a separation working. So you've soured that relationship. That's what this is. It's a vessel for that toxic energy. If you then wanted to remove them from each other's lives, you're going to want to separate the two halves of the lemon again. So you are going to want to take all the pins out. Now this can be after it's been sitting for a really long time. You can be chanting over this. So for instance, now this relationship is sour and bitter. I will separate you from each other's lives. And you can just repeat that again and again and again as you're taking the pins out. You can do it in your head, you can do it out loud, whatever you fancy. So you're going to want to separate the pins. And then when they're all separated, you're going to want to separate the lemon. You're going to want to take those two names and put them on each half of the lemon. Now you're going to want to dispose of these in two completely different locations. So a lot of people will bury them in two different areas. Essentially, the idea is that you don't want these two people to repair this relationship. You want it to be done with and over. So you've soured it, but now you need to finish it. So what you'll do is you'll make sure that one name is on either side of the lemon, and you're going to want to bury these in two completely different areas. Now you can bury them in the same patch of land, just on opposite ends. You can bury them in two completely different places. You can dispose of these in two different locations, whether that be burying them, whether that means binning them, whatever works best for your situation, but you need to make sure that these two halves stay clear of each other. So a lot of people will simply bury them, or they will leave them to rot in two different locations so that they can't come back together again. And that is that working in a nutshell. Now, this working can take a few days. This working can take a few months. It entirely depends on how much time you want to spend having these people stew in their own negativity, in their own toxic relationship. It entirely depends on how much souring needs to be done to make this relationship, to make this friendship fall apart. Now, for some relationships, some friendships, that might be super easy. They might be on the brink of breaking already, and you are just giving them that push to make them realize that this is not a good relationship to be in. Or it could be that they need a little bit more of a souring. So this could take several weeks. This could take several months. I have known people do this kind of working and they've put it in the fridge and they've let it sour for years, months, years. They'll put it in the freezer and really let that toxic energy go crazy. You really can adapt this to how much you need it, so to what extent you really need this, but also you can change who's in it. So changing the names, whether it's a friendship, a relationship, really make this your own. So I am gonna go get lemon juice off my hands because it is slowly burning all down here. So I'm gonna go wash my hands and then I'll talk to you in a minute. So this has been my friendship souring, friendship breakup working, and I really hope it's useful for any of you guys that have been wanting something similar to this, that you can really adapt for your own situation and for your own practice. Now, you really can make this work for you. You can change out the names, you can switch up the intention, you can make it last for longer and be a little bit more of a curse or a hex, and then you can also make it more of a quicker souring working to separate people that really shouldn't be around each other, that are toxic to each other. So you can really make this more of a positive, for your own good kind of working, or a negative, you deserve this kind of working. It really all depends on where your practice falls on that spectrum of positivity and negativity, and what it is that you need at that particular moment. And you can also adapt this spell to suit the exact requirements you have at the time. So one time you might need a really extensive working that lasts a long time, whereas sometimes you might need it to be a little bit quicker. So I really hope that you guys found this useful. I know a lot of you have been asking me for candle-free workings for quite a while, and I've had also a lot of requests for more negative intention workings. So I'm kind of giving you a 2-for-1 here. You're kind of getting the best of both worlds. It's a slightly negative working, but also candle-free, so extra bonus. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, or if you did find it useful, feel free to give it a like. It really means so much to me. If you do have any questions, comments, concerns, video ideas, or just want to chit chat with the community, down in the comment section, feel free to post a comment. We also have a Discord server that has a lot of practitioners chatting on it all the time. The link for that will be down in the description box. And a massive shout out to all my Patreon supporters. You guys are absolutely awesome and allow me to buy things in and get things in order to do these spell videos. So I really thoroughly appreciate your support, and your names will be on the end screen in just a moment. So if you enjoy the magical content on this channel or in this video, feel free to hit subscribe. I do try my best to post magical content every Wednesday and every Saturday at 6 p.m. So I hope you guys have a marvelous magical day. I hope that you are all safe and well, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!